We talking rom-com, we talking action, we talking drama and movie classics. Whatever you want, yo, we have it. Cause we talking movies on the podcast. So I married a film critic. So I married a film critic. So I married a film critic. Hey honey, I just want to talk about the movie like casually. You don't have to bring up the cinematography. Honestly, let's just talk about like how the characters were fun. Married a film critic. So I married a film critic. So I married a film.
Welcome to So I Married a Film Critic. I'm your co-host Julia.
And I, fair ladies and gentlemen, hath the film critic Barry.
Oh my gosh. All right.
Lend me your ears.
This is going to be rough, guys. Okay. We watched
But fun for me.
Macbeth.
No. The Tragedy of Macbeth.
Pardon me. The Tragedy of Macbeth.
That is the title.
With Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand.
Directed by Joel Coen for the first time without his brother Ethan. And I can't say that we spoke recently about the Wachowskis doing their first movie with, Lana working without Lily. And, we were saying that, I certainly feel like
Two Wachowskis are better than one.
yes, and I feel like this is not the case. I really feel, as much as I think both Wachowski brothers are a force of nature and two of our most interesting and distinct and original American filmmakers. I think Joel did just fine without Ethan. Not to say that I want Ethan to stay away, but I love that he made this film. And I am, yeah.
All right. Well, let's start off with the fact that you wanted to watch Shakespeare with me. And a couple nights ago, you're like, do you even understand iambic pentameter?
Oh, man. This is going to be an intervention, isn't it? Oh, man.
I stupidly said, of course I do. I did, a speech meet in high school. I memorized one scene,
From?
Much Ado About Nothing,
Okay.
where I was Beatrice.
Yeah.
And you guys, it's just not enough. Over 20 years later.
And by the way, really cool. We named our daughter Beatrice, and Much Ado About Nothing was a really big part of that. So that's kind of a cool thing. This is, I'm not an expert on Shakespeare, but I'm comfortable with it. There was a period in my life where I took a class on iambic pentameter. I had scansion tests. We would look at Shakespearean sonnets and have to go through each and to be or not to be. That is the question. Whether this is no. We'd go through each and every syllable, every phrase. I've been in multiple Shakespeare plays. I had scene studies. Hamlet is my jam. Hamlet is the one I'm the most comfortable with.
Oh, that was the other thing. You
What?
said, have you ever seen Macbeth? And I said, yeah, with Mel Gibson. And it was Hamlet. I had seen Hamlet. I had never seen The Tragedy of Macbeth.
You don't have to sell yourself short, though. I mean, it's Macbeth is, it's free.
Just telling the audience to lower their expectations on my...
Oh, you don't have to defend.
You
You
know.
don't have to defend yourself. No, I mean, the thing is to let yourself off the hook, because you should, and anybody listening to this should. Shakespeare is a challenge for the audience and the actors. It's not easy. Shakespeare is very hard. I admire any actor who can do it and do it well, because there's nothing harder than Shakespeare. Not musicals, nothing. Comedy, no. Shakespeare is the hardest because it is the equivalent of biblical study in the sense that you study the sonnets and you learn exactly what they mean. And it's meanings within meanings. And there's different ways to interpret it. There are different ways to do it. And as you've seen in this film, there's ways to do it where you really try to make the lines pop. You really try to make it discernible and like colorful. And you go, oh, I get it. And there are also times where you just have to recite them and hope there'll be a connection. And sometimes it's impossible because sometimes the words, it's easy to get tripped up on the words. It's so difficult. And as I told you when we were watching the film, as I would tell anybody, when you're watching Shakespeare and you're not comfortable with it, especially if it's an adaptation like this, where it's iambic pentameter, where it's the old King's English, don't worry about the words. Just watch. Just listen for a while, and allow, hopefully, for the words to kind of sneak in to the point where you go, okay, I get this. I get what the
You
core of the
guys,
scene
that
is.
that did not happen for me. That did not happen for me. I did not understand it. I didn't get it. I was watching going, okay, did this just happen? Is this what I think happened? And I mean, I was right most of the time when I asked you a question. Oh, did he just decide? Is he king now? Oh, okay, he's king. I mean, but come on. It was difficult.
It's also difficult because I mean there are more accessible versions of Macbeth in this movie. I've seen versions that are much more accessible, much more easy to follow. I mean this film is, I mean, for one thing, it's highly stylized. I think it really does demand that you have some kind of familiarity with the material, and if nothing else, I wouldn't advise this, but this is one of these movies where I feel like the visuals are, in some cases, even stronger than the story. So you could just watch this and have a sense of what's going on, because Macbeth is about morality, it's about moral compromise, it's about political thirst and corruption. I feel like you could watch this, and I think maybe that was a part of the intent too, and how stylized it is. You can watch it and get the gist of it, because it is about good succumbing to evil, and I feel like that's a common thing that you understand what the film is saying cinematically without the words.
Or
Hopefully.
you read the Wikipedia description and go, okay, I got it. And then you watch it.
Or you do what I do, which is to sit with the complete works of William Shakespeare at my side
Okay,
and
this
follow
is
along.
what happened. After the movie, I'm like, I'm going to read the synopsis. So I'm looking at Wikipedia, reading the synopsis for this version, and all the things are clicking. I look over, he's got Macbeth open. What is that? A 2,000 word, 2,000 page book you have sitting there?
Well, it's the complete works of William Shakespeare.
I know, but look at how thick that is. That's
Well,
insane.
Yeah. Look at this thing.
So I look over.
I could
he's-
murder someone with this.
He's
It's so big.
actually reading Macbeth, and then he quotes it. You quoted it to me.
Yeah, all sound and fury signifying nothing. It's one of the greatest sonnets. Yeah. Now, I'll tell you, to be really earnest and transparent for a second, I lost a friend recently, my friend Sana, who is not only my friend, but my theater instructor. And when I was a theater major going after my bachelor's, very special person. I really miss her a lot. So dealing with this, thinking about all this really makes me think about her. Forgive me for getting a little emotional. Because this was, I mean, I spent months of thinking about nothing but this stuff. There was a time in my life where iambic pentameter and, the to be or not to be speech, I mean, it was all I did, and I loved it. And I do miss that part of my life. So going back to this is a chance for me to kind of revisit how exciting this was, because, I was doing this when I was in my 20s, and I hadn't really experienced life. And, there were times in my life, where, I mean, these were all new things. I mean, I was in my 20s. I didn't know about moral compromise and dealing with, death and all this stuff. So Shakespeare, in a way, was a way to deal with the grown-up world that was just around the corner for me. So, so for me, I love this stuff because it makes me very nostalgic. And it excites me to be able to revisit these characters. And to also think about them in a new way, because we're not seeing this done in a way that I've ever seen done before. And, Macbeth, to see him played by probably one of the greatest actors of all time. And Frances McDormand is no slouch either. It made me think about the characters in a new way, and certainly to see it in such a stylized way too was so exciting for me, because I've seen this done with actors in tights, very tight tights. On cardboard sets. I'll tell you really quickly, I've seen this on stage. There were three things I remember about seeing it at the Denver Center when I was a theater major. Three things. One, because it's the Denver Center, I mean, it was state of the art. It was one of these things where there were no cardboard sets. It was all stylized lighting, trap doors, and revolving sets. So, there were no scene changes. It was awesome. Two, The scene where Lady Macduff's son is murdered, the actor playing, the little boy playing the scene was so good. Because basically the way they staged it's different in the movie. The way they staged it was there was one man holding him while another man slit his throat. This little boy was screaming his head off, and once the fake knife hit his throat, the kid was making dental noises. I mean, it was
Ew.
horrific. It was horrific, horrific. And I'll tell you, Jules, this is true. When that scene ended, and the lights went down, lights went up for another scene. I mean, it kind of killed the play. Because there are people. I mean,
like, is the kid okay?
Is the kid okay? Yeah.
Can someone please do a wellness check? CPS, anybody?
Exactly. So when the standing ovation came at the end, the kid comes out. People lost their minds. They're plotting like, oh, it wasn't just like you were great. Like, oh, thank God, the kid's okay.
He's alive.
And the other thing I remember so well about that performance, I still have the newspaper clipping somewhere in one of my awful boxes I need to get rid of. But there was, I don't remember which character it was, but there was an actor playing a role. I think he must have been an understudy. And he was so contemporary. He was so clearly out of place. And he spoke dude speak when he was reciting his Shakespeare. The Denver Post did a review of this play, and they praised it except for this one actor. They singled him out. And what they said was, I'm never forgetting it. I've always felt so bad for this actor. What the Denver Post film theater critic said was, this is a performance that would embarrass Pauly Shore.
Ooh, dang.
Oh my God. That's in the Denver Post. How awful and embarrassing. And believe me, I've seen the performance, so I knew what the critic was talking about, but still, like, that is so embarrassing.
You guys.
It's embarrassing for Pauly Shore, too.
Yeah, I mean, because Barry's done a lot of theater reviews in his time. And that's one thing he never does. He never calls out less than stellar performances and like shames an actor because it's just mean.
I wouldn't do that anyway. I mean,
no, I know.
And when I did a lot of that, it was community theater. But
right.
even if it was professional theater, I probably wouldn't, because here's the thing too about that. I mean, actors have bad nights. It's not like movies where you get it perfect and it's and it's captured and crystallized and it's
Yeah, they've had 25 takes.
And you're seeing the best of it. No, you can be a great actor and have a bad night. You can drop a line. It could not be there. So I'm very soft on theater actors. But, I mean, you got to do this from scratch every night, especially when it's something like this. I mean, if an actor is having a bad night playing Macbeth, well, yeah, because it's hard to begin with. But, I mean, what, are you having a migraine or having an off night or you drop a line? Like, my heart goes out to you because, like, it's hard. Theater is so hard. That's why I think the best actors like Denzel are able to toggle between film and theater. So, yeah, so I got a lot of love for theater actors, especially theater actors who could do Shakespeare. But yeah,
all right, well, should
I'm
we talk about Macbeth?
Let's talk about Macbeth. So, yeah, I mean, so it's in black and white, and it's, as you've noted too, and I love that you didn't say like, are these sets? No, you said they're all sound stages. You're right. It's very theatrical is what it is. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, well, give a brief synopsis of the story, because I mean, is Macbeth ever good? Is he the villain the entire time?
That's an excellent question.
Because I love Denzel, of course, but the character of Macbeth, do not like.
As you shouldn't. Yeah, as you shouldn't. This is a cautionary tale. Macbeth and Banquo are returning from a glorious battle, and they're returning to see King Duncan. And King Duncan decides to give a title that was supposed to be Macbeth's. He gives it to his nephew, I believe. I think it's his nephew. And so Macbeth is furious that he has once again been passed over. And he basically says, well, enough is enough. His wife, Lady Macbeth, this is a character who...
Wait, are you passing over the first part with the witches?
Well, yes and no. I mean, it plays into it. I'm just giving a general synopsis. Okay. I don't know if I really want to do scene for scene.
No, we don't want to do that.
Because, I mean, even like piecing through the play tonight, after we watched the movie, I realized, like that's not there. Like there's some stuff. Not to say this isn't. I mean, I love this adaptation, but there's stuff missing. This is not I don't know. I wouldn't say this is a definitive Macbeth. And that's fine. I mean, I feel like every time a movie adapts Shakespeare, you have to cut corners. You got to cut scenes. I mean, the one person who did that, you know this, Kenneth Branagh did Hamlet. Did you ever see that? When Kate Winslet played Ophelia? It's okay if you hadn't. You remember if you've seen it. It's 3 hours.
Oh, okay.
It's 3 hours long, and it's all there. It's the only time every single line from Hamlet's ever been there. And I love that movie, but it's too much of a good thing. I mean, it's
There's no way you would have gotten me through 3 hours of Macbeth tonight.
Not this one, but no, I think not to say that I really want to subject you to it so quickly, but the 3 hour Hamlet is awesome. I mean, Robin Williams is in it, Billy Crystal. I mean, it's an amazing cast, and it's 3 hours. It's visually awesome, and Kenneth Branagh is a great Hamlet, and it's full of action and comedy and sex, and it's great. It's really good, but yeah.
Okay, so back to Macbeth.
So one of the things that inspires Macbeth to behave so poorly is because he has been told by 3 witches that there is a prophecy that indicates that he is indeed deserving of the things that he does not possess. And
being king.
And these 3 witches basically are among the figures that sway him. The other is his wife. And what I was going to say is this is an interesting one. It's one of these things that people debate a lot about, whether Lady Macbeth is responsible for this or whether it's strictly, a very male thing to say, like, well, he was just listening to his wife, or whether Macbeth is even poisoning his wife's mentality with his schemes of glory and a power grab. Lady Macbeth is one of those very highly debated characters in Shakespearean and also just in theater in general. And I feel like it's always different. It depends on how it's played. And I'll say really quickly, one of the things about this movie that I found so refreshing, because I felt like I've never seen this before. For one thing, Denzel, he's not really hamming it up at all. Even in the final scenes, he's playing it very, very neutral, especially in the first part of it, because there are lines in there where you could really lean into, and he doesn't. He is eloquent. He is subtle. He is internalized.
It's a lot of whispering, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I had to have the subtitles on, and these subtitles were very small, and he's whispering, and I'm straining.
To be clear,
it was hard.
Yeah, because we're not seeing in the theater. This is a screener that the nice people at A24 loaned me to watch. So the subtitles weren't as big as we'd prefer, and obviously it'd be nicer to see it on a big screen, because it really is a movie for the big screen. But anyway, like I love what Denzel was doing, because it's a very internalized performance until it isn't. And then McDormand, this is my second time watching the film, although I got to say the first time I watched it, I think there were scenes that I just watched over and over and over again, because I'm like, oh, this is so freaking cool. I've never seen it done this way. I know, nerding out. But
wow, that was not okay.
It's true. No, it's true. Like, and I don't do that often. I normally just watch a movie through, but I'm like, oh, I got to see that witches scene again. That was amazing. McDormand, the first time I watched this film, I was not disappointed with her performance, but I was a little underwhelmed, because I'm used to seeing Lady Macbeth played to the hilt, like a real,
like a total psycho,
total tour de force, like pulling your hair out, like biting your fingernails, festival for an actress to really just go for it. And McDormand does not do that. She plays it as a very calculated opportunist, which is terrific. I've never really seen an actress kind of keep it together playing this role. That was interesting for me.
The king comes here tonight.
Thou art mad to say it. Is not thy master with him?
So please you, it is true. Our Thane is coming. One of my fellows had the speed of him.
Give him tending. He brings great news. The raven himself is hoarse that croaks the fatal entrance of Duncan under my battlements. Come, you spirits, attend on mortal thoughts. Unsex me here, and fill me from the crown to the toe top full of direst cruelty. Make thick my blood. Stop up the access and passage to remorse, that no compunctious visitings of nature shake my felt purpose, nor keep peace between the effect and it. Come to my woman's breasts, and take my milk for gall, you murdering ministers. Wherever in your sightless substances you wait on nature's mischief, come, thick night, and pall thee in the dullest smoke of hell, that my keen knife see not the wound it makes, nor heaven peep through the blanket of the dark to cry, hold, hold.
This tends to be one of those roles that good actor, bad actor, even for Macbeth, I mean, people tend to really like leave teeth marks on the scenery when they do it. And these are two actors who are too good for that. And Denzel has a long experience with Shakespeare, and it's all over this. I mean, this is a guy who, like, a couple years ago he did Fences, which I would love to watch with you. That's awesome. He's bringing these theatrical productions that he's so good into making them into movies, and he is excelling so much. It's exciting to me because, on the one hand, I mean, you know, I think young audiences are learn, you know, they know him as like the guy from like Remember the Titans or the Equalizer films, but like this guy's a treasure. He's an amazing actor. His performance as Malcolm X, as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the greatest performances in cinema. He's amazing in that film, and he's amazing in this one. But what I'm trying to say is, for all the things about this movie that are overtly theatrical, I feel like these actors, they're giving theater-ready performances, but they're also finding new notes to play. And one of the things they're doing is they're not going so over the top. In fact, what's over the top is the way this film was made.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like the set and the black and white makes this, I don't know, like what, oh man, you guys, I'm going to struggle with my words because this movie was so hard for me to watch. All the actors were very subtle, and they played it pretty normal for just like a movie, just like a normal movie, like a normal drama that you would watch.
Exactly.
But yeah, the dramatics are the visuals.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Like starting with the witches. Okay,
yeah.
these
it's normally three witches, and in this case, it's an actress, Catherine Hunter. Catherine Hunter. She's, on the one hand, she is playing three witches, but the way it's presented, it's her.
It's so creepy,
and it's done
so
as
creepy.
Reflections on a sheet of water, and it's lovely. It's lovely.
No, it's not lovely. It's creepy. Okay,
As it should be.
But you see her the first time you see her, you don't even really know what you're looking at. But her face is like face down in sand.
Yeah.
And then she's just kind of has her limbs all like,
she's like a
contorted.
contortionist. Yeah.
It's so weird. It's like satanic Cirque du Soleil or something. And then
wow. Now, there's the title we need to TM immediately. I would, next time I'm in Vegas, I want to go to that. Can we please see that next time we're in Vegas?
That sounds horrifying. Okay.
Rob Zombies, satanic Cirque du Soleil.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so then she's talking. And the only reason I really like put this together, you guys, because I'm not that smart, but in the subtitles, it kept switching and saying which one, which two, which three. And it was her the whole time. And there's only one person. Yeah. And I'm like, is she three people? Like, what's happening?
Killing swine. Sister, where thou? Look what I have. Show me. Show me. Here I have a sailor's dove, wrecked as homeward he did come. A drum. Macbeth had come. Aye. In a sieve I'll do the sail. And like a rat without a tail I'll do, and I'll do. I'll drain him, dry as hay. Sleep shall neither night nor day hang upon his penthouse lid. He shall live, a man forbid. Weary Sir Knights, 9 times 9, shall he dwindle, peak, and pine. The weird sisters, hand in hand, posters of the sea and land, thus to go about, thrice to thine, and thrice to mine, and thrice again to make up 9.
And then the creepy part, and the first time Macbeth sees her, she's standing, next to a puddle, basically.
Yeah.
And then there's like two reflections. So she's standing, there's one of her, and then like two reflections.
Yeah.
And then you're like, okay, this is getting real weird.
There's three of them.
There's three of them. And then they're standing next to her. I mean, it's just so bizarre. I mean,
one witch, two witches.
I mean, like visually, okay, cool. But just kind of really expresses the evil that he's encountering. I mean, in a very real way.
The movie looks like a nightmare. And I
Yeah.
love that about it. It
Definitely.
looks like a nightmare. It feels like a nightmare. The uses of shadow, figures emerging from the fog, the whole thing feels like a horrific nightmare.
Right. So when I was reading the Wikipedia,
Written by William Shakespeare, the King's Wikipedia entry.
this is where it made more sense because, the witches tell him he's going to be king and that other people are in line to be king, right? There's going to be other kings.
Right.
And so I feel like if he had kind of let this whole thing play out without going through on his murderous rampage, that he probably would have eventually become king. But I think this is a story of hearing the future, maybe, or knowing the future in some way and trying to expedite it in a way that you shouldn't. Basically messing with time and people and all that. Does that make sense?
Of course it does. This is. I mean, there's a real heavy spiritual aspect to this story. This is about. I mean, it's evil in a very real sense. It's not evil in a psychological sense. This is a story about evil being a very real, palpable thing, and the witches present that. They are satanic. They are wrong. They are earthy and elemental and unkind in the way nature is that way, which is one of the reasons that we see her immersed in the dirt. She's like she's like the elements.
She's so weird. Okay. In the actual story, do they just like happen upon the witches?
Yes, it's three witches dancing around a cauldron, which is a classic.
So he
image.
doesn't go searching them out in the story. He just like stumbles upon them.
Hi. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, look, some random witches in the desert. Okay.
Every version I've seen on stage, including the one that I referred to earlier, I mean, it typically just begins with them.
Okay. So, because this is where I think, okay, I think we all have moments in our lives where we have choices, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And he's obviously given some kind of evil prophecy, if you will. And then he tells his wife or, tells her what's going on. And then she's like, let's just like get this show on the road. Yeah,
exactly.
So in that way, I think the story is very relevant because, we're all faced with those moral choices in our lives. And Macbeth and Lady Macbeth just do it all wrong. And then they basically bring judgment on themselves. So
I think you get this movie a lot more than you realize, Jules. Seriously.
Well,
Give
when
yourself a little
I was
credit.
watching it,
I know it's frustrating. I
like,
do.
What's
but
going on?
No, I think you did just fine, really.
Okay.
But it's okay you didn't like it, but we could talk more about that. There's so many quotable lines in this film. I mean, is this a dagger I see before me? By the pricking of my thumbs, something wicked this way comes. There's every scene I feel like has some wonderful, beautiful line, and it was always exciting for me to hear it again, especially as I've said, because so much of this feels new to me. Because there are movies based on Macbeth that are done in a very traditional way. The most famous version, although I've never been a fan of it, I watched it in college. Roman Polanski did a version of it, and if anything, the Polanski version, it stood out because it was so violent. But I've never been a fan of it, and I know some people say like that's the definitive Macbeth. I disagree. Patrick Stewart did a version of Macbeth, and it wasn't a film. It was, I think, a BBC TV movie, but he was an amazing Macbeth. And then a couple years ago, Michael Fassbender and Marion Cotillard did a version of it. It was loose. It wasn't. It wasn't. It was faithful, but it was one of these things where, again, you gotta chop this up if you're gonna make it accessible. And in this case, even though there are chunks missing or there's scenes that have been greatly abbreviated, I do feel like the essence of it is there, especially in terms of what the text is saying and what the imagery is conveying. I feel like it's, again, like even if you don't understand exactly what they're saying, which happens a lot even for someone like me, I feel like it's there because of the emotion. It's there because of the visuals. And I feel like it's one of these things like with Shakespeare, if you listen long enough, I feel like after a while it kind of creeps in. You start to get the subtext. You start to get the poetry, or not.
I don't know if that's true, really. I feel like I'd have to take a class. Okay. So I was asking you about the movie. Oh, because the reason we did this is this was a request. I should have mentioned that at the top.
Do you want to name drop your friend?
No, we don't need to do that. But
Okay.
She said, "Oh, are you guys going to do Macbeth?" And I said, sure, if you want us to. So she's the reason. You're welcome. No, just kidding. We love you. Okay.
We're doing this for you.
But I asked you, Bear, if there was anything in it that maybe she would be like too sensitive to watch.
Sure.
And you said, well, it's a horror film. And I was like, oh, okay. You're like, it's in black and white and there's the violence and the decapitations and the witches. And so I think I was expecting way more violence.
Oh, was this movie too subtle?
No, I was expecting the violence to be way more gory, I think. But because it was in black and white, some of the things, it's not hard to watch is what I'm saying. I mean, I've seen way gorier films that I'm like, whoa, that was crazy. I think the witches were the hardest for me just because they're so creepy. And I think if you're sensitive to that kind of like spiritual things, then yeah. But I wouldn't call it a horror movie.
Well, I would, just because it's Macbeth. I've always thought of it in those terms. Hamlet, it's funny, it's called Tragedy of Macbeth. I've always thought of Hamlet as strictly a tragedy or a psychological story, even though Hamlet has so much to do with a young man wanting to avenge his father who appears as a ghost. And in this case, I just feel like the darkness of it has always been so much more prevalent. I mean, Macbeth is just, it's...
So horror because of the subject matter?
Well, horror because of the witches, horror because it's a slaughter fest, horror because it's about moral compromise at its darkest rather. I feel like there's an aspect of film noir to the way this is presented, although film noir has always been classically in black and white, so I feel like there's a lot of that here. So yeah, I don't hesitate to call it horror. I certainly, Much Ado About Nothing is obviously a love story, a romance, and I feel like Macbeth is like Titus Andronicus. I feel like it's Shakespeare at his most depraved.
Okay. Yeah, the scene where Macbeth kills the king, that was definitely, it was a little shocking.
As it should be, yeah.
I mean, he's sitting there watching him sleep, and he waits till he wakes up, and then he kills him. I mean, that's so cold. He could have just done it in his sleep.
Yeah.
But
it's,
no.
It's awful. It's awful. I mean,
for an idea that like him and his wife just discussed, I don't know, hours earlier, I'm just surprised that he's so okay with doing it.
Either, you could, you got to plan your moments really well when they're awake, or it's just easier when they sleep. So I feel like, this is good on Macbeth.
That makes no sense. That means you think he should have done it when he was asleep.
Well, I mean, with most movies dealing with the protagonist being a serial murderer, I always find myself rooting for the bad guy in this case, because movies and theater...
You're rooting for Macbeth?
Absolutely. Why? Because we can live vicariously through the characters.
No.
Whenever I watch Silence of the Lambs, I'm rooting for Hannibal Lecter.
Ew, no.
Yes.
You can't root for him.
Yes, I root for Dracula. I root for Darth Vader. Yes, of course I root for the bad guy. Why not?
This
Who cares?
is wrong.
They're fictional characters.
This is wrong.
They're fictional characters, and you know, if I see the tragedy of Macbeth, I want to see the dude shake loose. When Macbeth starts to really murder a lot of dudes in the third act of this film, it's like, yes, this guy obtained his power. He's trying to hold on to it. This is a wretched,
He's
awful
a
human being.
tyrannical, crazed lunatic.
Right. But he's also a fictional character, and he's played by one of my favorite actors. So yeah, man, like, go at it.
No, I'm not rooting for Macbeth in this movie at any time.
I'm not saying that. I mean, the movie is always a cautionary tale. It's the movie is not celebrating him. I'm saying with a lot of with almost all works of fiction, I don't always root for the hero. And this is definitely not because in this case, I mean, Macbeth is our central protagonist. Who is the real hero of this movie?
I mean, everybody loses because
The hero is good. The hero is morality. The hero of this story is a moral compass, which most of these characters do not have.
Okay.
They exist in a moral universe, but they don't listen to that.
when Macbeth finally eats it at the end.
Spoiler.
Oh my gosh. When did Shakespeare write this?
Look, people need time to catch up on a play that was written hundreds of years ago,
Yeah.
Joel. So you need to be sensitive about this.
Okay.
There are people 700 years old listening to this right now.
Okay. Who takes the crown to the new king?
That's Ross.
When Ross takes the crown and he gives it to the new king, that's the hero. This new king who's going to clean up Macbeth's mess.
But the new king is probably going to lead to all the problems that Macbeth also leads. I mean, power leads to corruption. That's the whole
Well,
part of the story. I don't
yes.
think any of these heroes are good. There's no good people in this.
Well, that's probably true.
I mean, these are godless people living in a universe where God is real or God is respected. It's a story of moral compromise. So if there is a hero here, it's the ability to do the right thing, which no one is listening to. No one is.
Maybe it's that little boy who actually doesn't get killed.
The child is definitely Lady Macbeth's son. I mean, he's definitely
not that
innocent.
guy.
Oh, you're talking about the one who gets away.
Yeah.
Well, children are innocent in general, in certainly in a world like this, and it's especially cruel and awful that they suffer as they do. And certainly Shakespeare, I feel like, is really, he's really tapping into mortal evil when the death of the child is a factor.
Right. Because he actually lives, whereas
Macduff's son,
Macduff's son gets
Right.
thrown off a balcony. It was horrifying.
But again, like, I've seen a version where the kid like died in front of us, having his throat slit. So the dude getting tossed, I'm sorry, but like that kid had it way easier than what I saw firsthand.
You're like, that kid got to land on a mattress at the bottom of
Yeah, that
the
kid had
set.
fun. That kid got to do a stunt. The kid I saw was screaming his full head off. So
Oh, man. It's rough to do Shakespeare.
yes, it is. I died violently in the beginning of a production of Romeo and Juliet. I played a Capulet.
Oh, is that the one I saw you in?
Was it? Yeah. You know why you don't
Yeah.
remember me in that? Because of the actor who played Romeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
He was
What?
a wonderful actor, a brilliant actor, by the way, but shirtless, he's especially
Yeah,
good.
and we were friends at the time, or no? Or was this before?
I think this is right before then.
Okay, so I go to this.
Yeah, there's no way you remember me in this production because the actor who played Romeo.
Okay, so I go to see this production of Romeo and Juliet, and this is on campus, you guys. And yeah, I don't think I knew you because I would have been like, oh yeah, there's Barry, and he
Yeah.
dies in the first act, and I didn't.
But I'm soaked in blood, because the angle of this, it was, everything Shakespeare's concept
Yeah,
Shakespeare.
but I didn't remember all that blood.
I don't remember that because
No.
what it was is my dear friend Michelle, is still a dear friend to this day. She played like the physical embodiment of evil. We can't
Oh, I
see
do
her.
remember
you remember
her,
that?
yes.
So we're fighting with swords, and I mean, this was months of like sword fighting camp, and it was awesome, and I got to do all this cool stuff. But basically, not only do I fake my death, but she soaks me with blood, and I'm just sticky. I'm a sticky mess, and you can't change out of your outfit. So I die at the beginning of this show, and I'm backstage for 2 hours and 45 minutes. Then I have to get on stage, and by the time I'm doing like a bow, my shirt is stuck to my chest. I love doing that play, but it was a miserable gig. It
Oh
really
my
was.
gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's this scene where Juliet, is up on her balcony in bed, I guess. And she's wearing like practically a see-through dress in this production, which was like, what are you doing? And then Romeo, totally shirtless, climbs the balcony. And I don't know, this dude was ripped.
Yeah, and he still is. He's a fantastic actor. I won't embarrass him and name him on this podcast, but he's awesome.
But
I'm a
all
big
of
fan
us
him.
girls were just like, wow, we love Romeo.
We could hear it backstage. The audience going, ooh, when he's slowly lowering himself and all the little pectorals are like defined. Yeah, no, that production was kind of famous for that.
I mean, come on, I still remember that exact scene and I can still see it in my mind.
I remember watching it in rehearsal being like, oh man, I think the audience is really going to like that. Well, boy, did they like that. Yeah, that was a memorable production.
Yeah, that's so funny. So what were you talking about?
You're
Oh yeah,
completely
the
distracted
Tragedy of
remembering Romeo and Juliet.
Macbeth.
Yeah, you don't even care about this show anymore.
Yeah, so we're talking about Denzel, who is not shirtless in this, unfortunately.
Do you like the scene, the double toil and trouble scene?
Oh,
way it
that
was
was so
staged?
creepy.
Because it's great. Because, and I was going to save it to the end to talk about this, but the film uses, I guess, sparrows as a visual for evil. For evil
Are
about
they
to enter.
sparrows or crows?
Crows, sparrows. I'm not sure. I'd say crows. You're probably right. I don't really know my birds that well, so I'm sure it's probably crows.
Crows are the evil ones. No, I don't know.
Maybe. Well, they're the first thing that we see. The visual is this really striking shot. You just see this fog, and you're seeing these three crows that are basically circling. And in this case, the double toil and trouble sequence, there's a lot of ways to stage it, and obviously, and in this case, they're on the rafters like they're crows.
birds.
Yeah.
So again, I read in Wikipedia that is Macbeth in a trance?
Yes, his wife has given him an elixir.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Does she give him that to help him sleep?
Yes, and instead he's hallucinating.
Okay.
He's tripping.
That makes more sense. I kind of wish I had known that, but I asked you and you gave me nothing, so.
Fun fact about me, listeners. When people ask me questions during the movie, I don't like to tell them because it's like, well, just wait and see. I don't want to like stop the movie and be like, well, you see. No,
Yeah, but I was
rather
so confused.
Just watch. Yeah.
All right, well.
I figure when the imagery got really surreal and hallucinatory, I figured you'd be like, oh, okay.
No, I had no idea that he was hallucinating or what was going on because they're witches. So I didn't know if they were like, okay, because what happens is the floor turns into water.
Yeah.
And so they're up in the rafters looking like weird bird
Like crows
things.
looking down on him, yeah.
Or maybe even those other kind of birds.
Vultures.
Yeah.
Yes.
They kind of look like
Absolutely.
vultures.
Sure.
And then these faces are popping up from the water, like talking to him. So
Yes.
I don't know. That could have been them. He could have not been in a trance, and they could have been doing their weird witch magic. I don't know.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, is it actually the supernatural, or is it simply his madness? Is it even have anything to do with what he drank? He might just be losing his mind, and we see that early in the dinner scene.
Oh, like losing his mind because
The guilt.
Yeah, the guilt.
The guilt, and just the power hungry. I mean, everything about this guy, and it's a little. There's a way to play this character where you're very demonstrative about all the inner workings of Macbeth, and Denzel isn't necessarily doing that. There are some cases where it seems like he's enjoying the beauty of the language. It seems like he and Francis are really adhering to just how magical it is to hear these words and the potency of the words, more so than like really, again, hitting those syllables, hitting the emotion of it so that every line is accessible for us. Because as I think you could attest, it's not always the most accessible version. Because I've seen versions of this where it's much easier to understand because the actors are really leaning into every sentence a little harder.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sure. I agree with you. I know.
Are you emotionally detached from this movie completely?
Yeah, I kind of am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought so when you said, we should do this tonight. I'm like, why? She's like, by tomorrow I'm not even going to remember this movie. I'm like, oh, okay.
Well, it's not that. It's just it wasn't an enjoyable film experience for me. I wasn't sitting there like, wow, this is so interesting, or I know what's going on. I was really struggling. So in that sense, it wasn't a fun experience. I can appreciate the artistry of it and the sets and all of that. And at the end, when Macbeth is in his final duel,
Yeah.
you know, with
Macbeth v. Macduff.
yeah, with Macduff, and they're dueling in this narrow kind of passageway on this castle. He gets his crown knocked off, and then he's so arrogant. He goes to pick it up and put it back on, and as he goes to put it on, he gets his head cut off.
Yeah.
And then you just see the crown just like flying off, you know, over the side of the castle. And I was like, oh, good. Finally, something I can be excited about. This guy is meeting his doom, for which he basically brought upon himself.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I was not sad about his death. And I thought, oh, and that means this is going to be over soon. So there was like a win-win.
Oh, boy. So what did you think about Lady Macbeth's final scene? Her final ascension into madness?
Oh, I really actually love that part.
Yeah.
When she's having
How
her
about out-damn spots when she's trying to wash the blood off the hands that it's not even there?
No, not that part.
Oh.
I mean, yes, kind of, but she's coming down the stairs and she's sleepwalking.
Yeah.
And what her lady in waiting is talking to the doctor.
Yeah.
And the doctor is like, this is spiritual. Like, there's nothing I can do here. You basically need an exorcism.
Right.
And she's completely out of her mind. And then, but they don't show, I don't even know how she died.
Yeah, it's interesting because here's the thing about Shakespeare too. As anybody who's done Shakespeare will recall, and it's always kind of this amusing thing. When characters have a big sword fight in Shakespeare, it just says they fight, Hamlet loses. When a character dies, it just says she dies. And in this case, they kind of keep it open-ended because it looks like Ross is ascending up the stairs to kill her, because Ross, as we see, is a traitor. He's kind of playing both sides or every side. So I think, I mean, it could be, I've seen it done where it's suicide. I've seen it done where the castle is stormed and she's slaughtered. I mean, there's all...
Oh,
I
so
think they're keeping it open-ended.
Okay, because I said, did she fall down the stairs? I mean, what happened?
Yeah, it's unfortunate that your impression would be that she tripped. She had an oopsie and fell to her death.
Well, she is sleepwalking around this massive castle, so I don't know. Maybe she did have an oopsie. She could have slipped on somebody's, spilled drink for all I know.
Right, or blood. There's a lot of blood around this castle.
Yeah, a lot of blood. So that seems plausible to me. Yeah. But I thought she did a great job.
Frances McDormand?
Yeah, I mean, by the time she loses her mind, I mean, she looks like a ghost. Yeah. She's walking around in a big white nightgown.
Right.
And her hair is just down and it's all wild. And she's never looked more like a ghost. So maybe that's the madness setting in.
Yeah. Did you like any of the performances? I like Corey Hawkins as Macduff a lot. I like that performance a lot when he's informed that his wife and child have been slaughtered. I love the way the actor plays that.
Okay, I have such a problem with that scene. He's in...
Shakespeare wrote a crappy scene.
No, he's informed, you guys. He's informed that everybody in his household is gone. His wife, his child, everybody.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
And his friend who's with him is like, you need to let out your grief. You need to just let it out. I mean, you know when you're like with a friend and they're like, how are you feeling? Like, you just talk about it. And you're like, I don't want to talk about it. It was like that moment for me where he just kept telling him he needs to get out his grief to like get over it. I'm like, dude, he just found out he lost his wife and his child. And you're like, move through the 7 stages of grief right now. Chop, chop. You have 3 minutes. And now we're going to go avenge everybody.
I thought you were going to be upset about the fact that immediately after he kind of reiterates, like, my wife and my child, he goes, what about my chickens? Beautiful chickens.
Yeah. I kind of was like, wait, is he upset about his chickens? Again, it was
really likes those
it
chickens.
was a little bit, I wasn't totally with every word that was spoken, but yeah, the chickens. But no, his friend
Yeah.
was real annoying in that moment.
Well, this is a time where people are dying all the time. I feel like grief counseling and PTSD aren't really aspects of this sort of life. When you have swords at
I
your
know,
side and you're
but, like,
constantly killing people,
Give the guy more than 5 seconds.
that's probably a lot during this period of time. My whole village hath been slain last week. All right, time to move on.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
It's also not called Macduff, it's Macbeth, so we can't really watch this guy go through the year of magical thinking. I mean, we got to get to the third act of this
Oh my
movie.
gosh.
That's really sad, Macduff. Move it along. Let's get you a sword. You and
Let's
Macbeth can
go.
work it out.
You need to basically avenge them. And if
Yeah.
I'm sure he felt great beheading Macbeth after all that. I'm sure he felt good about it.
Well, notice how not only does Macbeth lose his head, but the head makes an appearance too.
Yeah,
Pretty groovy.
pretty gruesome.
Gross, because he's holding it from the stump. It
Yeah.
almost like he holds it from the inside. Like
It's kind of
maybe that's a good way to hold a decapitated head. I mean, because I've always seen it done where you're holding on
that's
to
the hair.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird. That was
But
kind
in
of.
this case, it's like, oh well, just get just get under the molars and it's exposed, so I just put it right there.
Again, the black and white helps with this not being the most disgusting thing you've ever seen.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're not really bothered by the film much, are you? Other than I know you don't like the witches, but
No, the witches bothered me the most. The violence, because of the black and white, didn't bother me. And there were really only about 3 different scenes where I thought it was like, whoa, okay. Oh, maybe 4. But it didn't really bug me at all.
did you like the way it was broken up into 3 acts with the title card "When" and then "Tomorrow"?
I mean, now that you're saying that, that was also
So no.
confusing. I didn't know what it meant.
Let me throw this out, and I swear I'm not trying to pick a fight because I feel like that's just kind of happening naturally for this episode. But like, you don't like the Coen Brothers movies, do you? You don't, because I've shown you Hudsucker Proxy, which you hated. You said like that movie is way too stylized. I think we saw Oh Brother Where Art Thou, which I know is it's really not my favorite either. I don't think you like their movies because they're very.
Wasn't there one about some kids that went camping? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Are you thinking Moonrise Kingdom?
Yeah.
That's Wes Anderson. So, yeah. No, Julia.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think you like him either, though, do you?
I was trying to,
That's
Oh,
okay. No, it's all
man.
right. No, I mean, it did burn after reading. Did you like that one? Do you remember that one?
No, I don't
All right.
remember that one.
All right. Yeah, I don't think you like their movies. I don't think you remember their films. I don't think you like their movies.
Clearly.
Do you remember Hail Caesar, the one where Channing Tatum is dancing like Gene Kelly? Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
They did that one.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't really
That
remember
doesn't
the
help at
story.
all. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'd love to show you more of their films, but I don't think that'd be a wise decision.
Okay. Well,
Their films are very aggressively stylized. They all feel like they exist in their own world. This is not uncommon, this movie. I mean, none of the movies, even the ones that are set in real day, they feel, like same thing with Ridley Scott. There's world building there. There's, these are fabricated worlds. These are very cinematic overtly. And I dig that because I love that stuff, but
yeah, I think I am thinking of all of Wes Anderson's movies now that you mention it.
yeah, 'cause I know you don't like him either. Yeah.
Well, no, I mean,
You liked Moonrise Kingdom?
yeah, I
Your
think
favorite Coen Brothers movie?
That's hilarious. I'm not even going to try to think of another title because it's just going to be wrong.
Have you ever seen The Big Lebowski?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Wait, no. Have I?
I don't think so. I think you would remember. Yeah, that's the one where Jeff Bridges.
Jeff
is the dude.
Bridges. Yeah, I have
Dude.
seen that.
You sure?
Yeah.
Because we saw True Grit, and I know we
No.
didn't. Not we both didn't care for that one.
Yeah. No, I think I like The Big Lebowski.
Do you remember anything about it?
Some bowling?
There you go. You've seen it. Okay,
Yeah.
some bowling. That is the correct answer. Some bowling.
You guys, I live with a man who has the mind with a trapdoor. Like, he doesn't forget anything about movies. So,
Movies never. With important things, always. Yeah.
right. So, all of his memories are being taken up by all these films.
That is true.
And so, the fact that I don't remember them is okay because he remembers all of them. I
balance each other out.
I remember the important things in life, like our passwords. No.
This is true. Well, I'll tell you, one of the things I loved about this movie, one of the many things, is that it's a touch. For one thing, something I wrote about in my article on the movie. I mean, it looks like an Orson Welles movie. I mean, there's a real. We've talked about the dreamlike nature of it, but the whole notion of the clanging that Macbeth is always hearing. It's not only a reflection of the Coen brothers' first movie, Blood Simple, which had that thing of blood dropping onto the floor, and it just sounds like thunderclaps. But it's also very much like Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart, this idea that you're hearing this sound, that every time you hear it, it's an implication of guilt. It's, it's the finger of fate pointed at you.
Yes. I do remember reading A Telltale Heart.
It's great, isn't it? Mm-hmm. 'Tis the beating of his heart. Yeah, it's
I
great.
couldn't tell you how it goes, but
One dude kills the other dude, buries the dude in the house, and has other people in the house, and he starts to hear the heart, and he finally breaks down and goes, "It's the beating of his heart." Like, oh, dude, you're a killer, and that's how it ends. To quote Edgar Allan Poe directly.
there you go.
Yeah.
You should just tell me all stories, how they
Like
go
that.
like that. One dude kills another dude, and then this happens.
So, like, Hamlet is, like, so annoyed that, like, his mom married the uncle, and it turns out the dad killed the other guy. So, like, Hamlet just kills everybody, and yeah, that's how it ends.
See? So much easier.
much easier,
So
right?
much easier. Oh my gosh. All right. Well, would you, not that you can change the ending
No,
of
it's
Shakespeare,
Shakespeare.
because you can't, but would you change any scenes in this film, or
No, like I said, like, the first
or
time
were
I
there anything that they didn't include that you would add?
No.
No?
No.
Okay.
No, because you said it, and I know it's coming from a very negative place, but I agree with you. I don't want to see a 3-hour version of this. I do think the movie moves really well. I love the scene transitions. How it like
They use a lot of light to transition, which
light
I
and
thought was
mist
cool.
and fog and the having individual shapes that suddenly become corridors and doorways. I love that stuff.
Yeah, that was neat. No,
neat. Oh,
no,
that's a good word.
No, it was, because that's when I realized it was soundstage, and I thought this is cool because they can do so much, with the lighting.
There you
Because
go.
when it's black and white, you have to do something.
You have to do something. You don't
Well,
like black and white,
yeah.
do you?
No, I'm glad this was in black and white because I think it made it easier to deal with some of the gore and.
Interesting. So you feel like the black and whites helped eclipse how rough the material
Yes,
is.
yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I thought it made it more palpable. I think if it was in color, I don't know. I think it would have been harder to watch.
Then Denzel's decapitated head that he's holding from the molars would have been
Yeah, that
too
would have
much.
just been so disgusting. In this case, you're like, I think he's holding the head from okay, that's gross, but I can't really see everything, so it's fine.
Is there a scene you would have?
Don't even ask me that. I would have had like the subtitles and then like normal speak under it so that you can understand what they're saying.
How dost thou today? How you doing?
Yeah, yes.
My head and my heart for a king. I killed him.
See, that would be so much easier actually.
Unsex me. Thou dost opening my heart for thine to thine see into my own eyes. I'm horny.
Yeah, see? An iambic pentameter translator.
What would be the way to? What's the title for that though? Because you know that would be an app or that would be a feature on every movie everyone would want. What do you call it? What would you like?
Shakespeare for dummies.
SFD. Can you put on the SFD subtitles?
Yeah, there you go.
There you go.
That would be very helpful for
Let me
me.
say, Joe, you're not a dummy. Anybody listening to this is like, I don't know if I want to watch this. Give it a shot. My wife hated it. I adored it.
Just read. No, seriously. If you've never.
Don't read the Wikipedia
Yes!
entry. No.
What? Yes, because.
No, watch the film.
Oh, come on. No, if you don't know the story of Macbeth, though.
Then discover it in this film.
Okay, but then at the end, you could read the Wikipedia.
So let's play a game. If I wasn't here today and you watched this all by yourself, you would have understood it.
No,
right?
that never would have happened. And I would not have watched it by
You
myself.
would've. Just
No.
watching it.
No.
Well, I'm not
I
saying
would
you
have been
would've
so
wanted-
confused.
I'm not saying you would have wanted to watch it by yourself, but you just watching it, you could have at least no. You don't think?
I don't think. I don't know if I would have kept going.
Oh, I get it now. He's not here. I'm just gonna look at the Wikipedia entry. Where's my SFD subtitles? Oh, this is much better. Did you like Stephen Root's cameo as the porter?
Oh, yeah. I said, oh, that's the guy from,
From
Office
Office
Space. She took my stapler.
Would Office Space have been better in iambic pentameter?
No. Oh my gosh, no. Okay, we digress. Okay, how many stars did you give this?
5. I think it's a masterpiece. I think it's a perfect movie.
Okay.
Other than Nightmare Alley and Mass, these are my 3 favorite films of 2021. Nightmare Alley, this film, and Mass. Those are my 3 favorites. And for me, they're interchangeable for the top spot. I think they're perfect. They're very different, but they're also so cinematic. And I love this because again, this is there's a way to do Shakespeare. It just feels like you're watching a film play, and I feel like this movie is so overtly, unabashedly cinematic. It's Orson Welles could have made this, French Long could have made this. It's clearly a movie, and it feels like it. And even though we watched it on my laptop, which is not preferable, I feel like it should be seen on the big screen possible because I feel like there's all sorts of incredible things in this to experience. I'm living at a time where I'm not going to theater, and you and I have spoken about this. I for one thing, I don't feel safe going to theater right now. I don't want to see theater in a mask, and I do miss that experience. When I read about these shows that are on Broadway, I mean, this is something if they had announced on Broadway that Denzel and Francis were doing Macbeth on Broadway, I'd be like, oh, that would be so killer to see. So to see this film, I feel like it's giving me a taste of an experience that I haven't had in a long time. So I feel like it really works as something that transcends the stage, but also honors its source. And as as a film that really wants to be a Shakespeare movie, but also be a distinctly Coen-esque movie, I feel like it succeeds. Yeah.
Okay.
And I just enjoyed the heck out of it. I think it's an awesome movie.
Yes.
So 5 stars from me.
Everyone should go see it. Don't take my, word for it unless
You're entitled to your opinion. How many stars? 1.5?
I mean, I'd give
star?
it 2.
2, okay.
Yeah,
All
for the fact that the sets are really cool.
Okay.
And the lighting is really great. And the acting is great. All those things. Just, I think it would have been, it's helpful to know the story of Macbeth beforehand. So that's why I'm telling people, know at least the basic story. I think it'll be more enjoyable.
Do you not like to see films where you don't know the basic story? I mean,
It's Shakespeare, though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If it's going to be in a language that's not first nature to you, I think knowing the story is helpful.
you don't think it would be clear watching it? When Macbeth is talking to the dude with the crown on his head.
We've
and
already
he
gone
kills the
over
dude,
this.
And he's wearing his crown. Don't you think, like or you just watch with the SFD subtitles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I just think it's helpful to know that what the story is about. And then I think it's just a more relaxing experience Instead of me being like, I don't know what's happening. What is she saying?
The king hath been slaughtered. I don't get it. SFD sometimes. King's dead, dude. Oh, okay. Got it.
There was a lot of other dialogue that was not that easy. Come on.
I don't know. It's
Mister, I've studied Shakespeare in college.
I studied it, but I'm not an expert on it. And there are times where I'm just like, I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure what the context of that is. I'm not sure, if I'm reading that line. It happens to me all the time. And I've taken so many Shakespeare classes, and I've actually did teach a Shakespeare class one. But
yeah,
to be
okay.
honest, no, like I'm not an authority on this at all, and I've never felt like that. And I feel like with Shakespeare, there's so much I could still learn. If I ever did this play, I feel like I would be starting from scratch completely, even though I know a lot of it really well. Mm-hmm. But as I've said to you so many times, like I would rather go out on a limb and encourage people to see something that they might hate, as opposed to being like, Big Mama's House 2 is funny. You'll love it. It's great. You'll laugh.
And I agree with you. I think it's definitely worth a watch. Just if you are a little nervous about the language, then read about what the story's about. That's all. That's my only
Can we at least
point.
agree on Cliff's Notes? Does it have to be the Wikipedia entry?
I don't care what it is. The Wikipedia one was like, once I read it, I said, oh, that would have been helpful. That's it. They can read whatever they want. They could read from your 1,000-page Shakespeare book. I don't care. It's just, I think it'd just be a more relaxing, enjoyable experience than you can, take in the whole
Was this
story.
too stressful? Was this just too much of a burden?
No, it wasn't a burden. It's just knowing, reading that before I watched it would have helped me be more relaxed. That's all.
Okay.
That's just my recommendation for anybody who's unsure about it. But sure, do it Barry's way and report back to us. You tell us what you think.
Oh boy. All right. Well, I love this movie. I'm sorry that you hated this film.
That's okay. I made you watch She's the Man. I made you watch so many things that you hate.
I watch everything willingly, at least the first time. It's always a bit of a struggle to watch a movie you know is going to be bad the second time.
Yeah.
But you did see a film you loved last night. Do you want to mention that quickly? Because
No.
we're not going to do an episode on it. No?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because
She watched She's the Man last night again, folks. She really loved it. She goes, well, this is Shakespeare. We'll watch Shakespeare tomorrow night, too. So I said, all right. So 12th night tonight, tomorrow night, Macbeth. Blew your cover.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, that ends our discussion of the tragedy of Macbeth.
And scene.